Hi, everyone. I'm going to tell you a short story. In 2017, Brian was just 15 years old when he committed a punishable crime, a drug-related crime which ended him in prison. In this way, assuming what most people assume of teenagers in this context, what it is supposed to be their destiny. But Brian's story is much more than just that. Brian used to work to take care of his siblings, and they lived in a very poor house in a slum surrounded by lots of violence. They did not have any of their basic needs satisfied. And Brian, I must tell you, was a brilliant student at school. He loved playing soccer, football in Uruguay. He never missed a single class, even though we knew he had little to no sleep because he used to work up to very late. He had a brilliant mind and a beautiful heart. One of his teachers, an Enseña Uruguay fellow, started wondering what's happening with Brian's education now that he's in prison, and what's happening to the pathways of other students that ended in prison. What type of education were they receiving? What support were they receiving? But moreover, what could Enseña Uruguay do as a movement and as an organization? So for 4 years, we investigated and studied thoroughly on how to work with students in prisons. How did the system work? And working closely with authorities in order to make alliances. It took us 4 years to achieve it, and we searched for funding to make it work and much more. Sadly, we reconfirmed something that we already knew, that students, teenagers in prison are the most invisible amongst the invisibles, and the most vulnerable amongst the vulnerable. Most people don't care about them, and it didn't seem to be in anybody's agenda, not socially, not politically, in any administration. Nobody cared. In theory, their right to education is guaranteed, but it is not enough. We knew that we had to do something different, something more individualized. Most of them don't feel safe and comfortable because they are in a permanent state of alert. Punishments usually go beyond incarceration itself through patterns of dehumanizing treatment, bathing in cold water, long queues of waiting in purpose, and even having their families not visiting them for many weeks. We all here were teenagers, or we are teenagers, or we will be teenagers. So I just want you to imagine for a second being in Brian's situation, plus being locked in, and imagine feeling like so many other teenagers, unable to find the path to tapping into your power and potential. I'm sure that doesn't feel very nice, right? That's when we realized, what could Enseña Uruguay do? Where was our added value? We had the conviction to do it, the motivation to do it. We had the leadership, the trained people to do it. And mostly we knew that being there would really change the pathways of these students. So in 2022, thanks to lots of work, many people, government, authorities, the Teach for All Future of Education Fund, we were able to start bridging the gap. This program is called Puentes Educativos, which is in Spanish, and it means education bridges, because we really felt the need to start bridging the gap. We started a pilot for a complementary socio-educational program that places fellows to teach in prisons in small groups, in pairs with small groups of students. Here, it is very important to note that students are brought to our classes, cuffed, and together with security guards. We work with academic subjects such as reading, writing, mathematics, as well as socio-emotional skills such as willingness to learn, self-perception through cognitive stimulation, and of course, learning through play. In this program, we attend each student as an individualized person, helping them to defy something that an Argentinian pedagogist called Violeta Núñez calls their anti-destiny. With this pilot, we are reaching almost 20% of teenagers in prison in Uruguay. And even though this program is not compulsory for them, we have a daily attendance of 90% of the students that want to come. We created a separated training module for our fellows in how to work in prisons. And most of our fellows working there are now thinking, what are we going to do when we become alumni? How are we going to change this? How are we going to impact the system? We already signed an agreement with the government to work for 2 more years so we can teach and reach even more students in prison. We take them out in field trips, as you will see the pictures, to show them that there is a lot for them outside prisons, the endless possibilities they can achieve. We created for them some booklets, and then I will show you, that shows them what they can do when they leave prison, everything they can do to reach and to maximize their potential. With this program, we are choosing to change the narrative about them. And in this way, trying to show public policies and public policy writers that there's a different way to do things for these students. Because we do not see them as criminals. We just see them as students, as any other student we work with. And helping them in this way defy their anti-destiny. To finish, I want to leave you with these 2 questions to consider. When we say all children in our missions, in our visions, are we really working with all vulnerable student populations in our own contexts? And furthermore, who might we be leaving behind? Just to finish, I don't want to finish without thanking everybody, but especially thanking Brian and all those students that were our catalysts to reflect and to act so we can serve better. Thank you very much.